You're watching the Daily Climate Show on Sky News. On today's programme, a warning that Arctic sea ice could be melting up to twice as fast as previously thought. Racing to win and to save the planet. How sailors in Ocean Race Europe are helping to collect vital data about the health of our seas. And the herd of elephants 300 miles from home. Hello and welcome to the UK's only daily climate news show where we track the changes happening to our world right now and meet those coming up with the solutions. Now, some parts of the Arctic could have no ice by 2040, according to new research from scientists at University College London. They found that parts of sea ice in the region are thinning up to twice as fast as previously thought. And that could have a big impact on the rate of global warming, the likelihood of extreme weather events and flooding in coastal communities. Well, Julien Struve is Professor of Polar Observation and Modelling at UCL and joins me now. Welcome to you. Tell us more then about your findings. Just how serious is the situation in the Arctic?
Well, I think what was so novel about the work that we did is that we're really trying to get a better handle on how much the ice is thinning, because we have over 4 decades of observations about how much of the Arctic Ocean is covered by sea ice, but it's been a lot harder to measure how thick that ice is. And while we have satellites in space at the moment that can give us some ideas of sea ice thickness, a key unknown has always been how much snow is on top of the ice. And so assumptions have been made that the snow depth is on the order of what was measured back in the 1970s, 1980s at North Pole drifting stations. But we know that that's probably no longer accurate in today's Arctic because, for one, the sea ice forms so much later than it used to. And so you don't have as much time over which snow can accumulate on the sea ice. And so on a different project, we had produced a more temporally varying snow depth product based on combining atmospheric reanalyses with a new snow model to sort of simulate how much snow is on the ice. And when you put that data product into the retrievals for measuring sea ice thickness, we found that when we do that, the sea ice is thinning much faster than we expected. And it's not too surprising, but it was nice to be able to quantify that this is indeed the case.
And what are the ramifications for that? What does it mean for climate change?
Well, I mean, obviously, we've always been concerned about, how quickly is the Arctic Ocean going to transform to a seasonally ice-free Arctic Ocean? And, we look at our climate model outputs, and they all suggest sometime by the middle of this century. But, if the ice is thinning faster than we think, then it could even happen a bit sooner than what the models are forecasting. And so I think it definitely has implications for, the timing of when we might start seeing Arctic ice-free conditions. And of course, the Arctic does not act alone in our climate system. What happens in the Arctic doesn't really stay in the Arctic. It can have implications for the planet as a whole. And exactly how that plays out, of course, is still quite uncertain.
Julien Struve, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Let's take a look now at some of the day's other climate news. And new analysis shows that electric and hybrid cars have seen another boost in sales this month. 1 in 5 of all cars sold in May in the UK were hybrid, and sales of electric cars have grown from 2,224 to 11,769 in just 1 year. Now, that's an increase of more than 500%. In the North East, electric car sales have increased from 4% of the market to 11%. The UN is launching its Decade of Restoration campaign, which hopes to use the next 10 years to halt the degradation of ecosystems and restore them to achieve global goals. The body has hosted a major event with world leaders, including the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres had this to say.
The task is monumental. We need to replant and protect our forests. We need to clean up our rivers and seas, and we need to green our cities. Accomplishing these things will not only safeguard the planet's resources, it will create millions of new jobs by 2030, generate returns of over $7 trillion every year, and help eliminate poverty and hunger.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that it's a myth that Russia isn't concerned about climate change and that melting permafrost and coastal erosion were risks. Speaking at an economic conference in St. Petersburg, he also defended the use of natural gas, claiming that it's clean and should be used in the transition to cleaner energy. A tsunami that hit Scotland over 8,000 years ago would have devastated coastal towns and cities if it happened today, according to researchers. The Storegga tsunami was caused by glacial underwater landslides along Norway's continental shelf in the Norwegian Sea, triggering a major displacement of water. Modelling shows the wave could have travelled up to 30 kilometres inland along the Scottish coast. A herd of elephants that have trekked more than 300 miles away from their home in southwest China could have done so because of a decline in food in their natural forest habitat. The 15 wild elephants have now arrived at the densely populated city of Kunming, the capital of Yunnan province. Along their journey, they've caused around $1 million of damage. Now, 20 people from Thurrock and Basildon in Essex have formed a climate jury. They're aiming to influence development in the area whilst ensuring environmental and community needs are met. The jury have put forward 32 proposals aiming to create a prosperous and low-carbon future. Their suggestions include investment in cleaner and affordable public transport, as well as schemes allowing employees days off to restore nature. Well, to talk more about the proposals, builder and climate juror Danny Pearce joins me now. Hello to you. First of all, why did you decide you wanted to get involved in a climate jury?
I'll be honest with you, I was just sent a letter randomly saying that I could be involved in it and like put my opinions forward. So we was currently like deep in lockdown, so I thought, why not? Let's just have a go, see what it's like. And I'll be honest with you, I was quite pessimistic at first, and I didn't think it'd be something I'd be too interested in. But as the weeks were going on, I found myself getting deeper and like more interested into it, and I was actually like looking forward to the meetings. And when it ended, I actually felt like something had been achieved at the end of it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you feel it's been a useful process. Tell us a little bit about some of the ideas that you all came up with. Any favourites?
I'll be honest with you. I think cycle routes was like a big one that kept coming up, and where they're planning to change over like the new production of make all vehicles electric, like cars by 2030. There was a big issue about like the charging of them vehicles in certain areas. So that was an interesting one, and I think that's one that definitely needs to be sort of addressed going forward.
And do you think you'll take anything away from it personally about how you live your life and how you do your work? You're a builder, aren't you? Any lessons from what you've learned during the process?
With myself, I'm a bit restricted, but I know that there ain't many options at the moment for myself or any affordability for an electric van. But it would be useful, and I'd definitely consider it if they brought in almost like a scrappage scheme for like to trade in older vans to replace them with like more greener vans. That'd be definitely something that would benefit myself as a builder, and definitely something I'd be interested in.
Interesting stuff. Well, Danny Pearce, we really appreciate your time. Thanks very much indeed.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
The second leg of the Ocean Race Europe kicks off this weekend, and several of the teams taking part will be doing more than just racing. Some of the boats are carrying scientific equipment on board to measure the impact of climate change on the seas and the amount of microplastics in the water. Well, the 3-week race started in Lorient in France on the 29th of May before heading to Cascais in Portugal, where the teams are now. Now, they'll set off from there this weekend, racing to Alicante in Spain. The race finishes with Genova in Italy on the 19th of June, and the data collected at every stage will be provided to scientific organisations studying and mapping the impact of the climate crisis on our oceans. Well, joining me now from Cascais is Simon Fisher, navigator for the 11th Hour racing team. Welcome to you. So tell us, first of all, about this scientific research element of the race. Tell us more about what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on. Yeah, it's actually really exciting. we're doing this 3-week race, and we're obviously competing to win, but also a real pleasure and an honour to be able to also contribute to the science community while we're racing around. I've been racing in these boats or in this offshore racing for a long time now, so now I'm sort of getting to the veteran stage of my sailing career. It's nice to be able to give something back, and as someone who's got a bit of a science background, it's really nice that we can contribute to the science community.
Well, yes, I think I've read that you're a chemistry graduate, aren't you? So that's obviously been part of the appeal. But what exactly is the research looking at? I mean, you're looking at the quality of the water, aren't you? But are you also studying marine mammals as well?
Yeah, so we have an ocean pack. I can turn the camera a little, and you can see this big box of scientific equipment, and that's constantly, as we're racing, that's constantly pumping water through the boat and measuring dissolved carbon dioxide, sea temperature, salinity, so seawater salinity, which are all really important metrics for gauging, climate change. The ocean actually absorbs like 90% of the excess heat that we break as a human race, and the ocean's also a carbon sink. But obviously, the more carbon the ocean absorbs, the bigger effect it has on the ecosystems and marine life. So it's also hugely variable. So I think the more we can do to understand that and provide data is very, very valuable. And we also we're also the eyes and the ears for the scientists out here, and specifically with marine mammals. We already love to see the sea life, and it's a real pleasure when we see dolphins, whales, birds, and that stuff when we're racing along the shore. But actually, by writing that down, noting observations, weighing them, the frequency, and things like that, we can actually provide a rather valuable resource to the science community.
Well, Simon Fisher, it sounds extraordinary. Good luck with the science and good luck with the race as well. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that's it for today's show, but you can get your climate fix over the weekend with our podcast. And on this week's episode, we're talking climate influencers with Love Island star Eyal Booker and Katya Jones from Strictly. That's on Climatecast, and it's available wherever you normally get your podcasts from. And on our weekly digital show, we go behind the scenes of our correspondent Siobhan Robbins' filming with the divers collecting discarded fishing gear and turning it into PPE in Thailand. That'll be available on Sky News social channels, our app and website from Saturday morning. Thanks for watching. See you next week.